understand that there's terrorism concerns, law enforcement concerns, that there sort of law enforcement presence at these games. What is not reasonable is to have ICE and CBP there, especially saying we are there to conduct immigration enforcement operations and working as a show me your papers patrol. That's not just a overzealous immigration enforcement. That's an encroachment on all of American civil rights, U.S. citizens. And let's remember, we're under an environment where U.S. citizens are being shot and killed repeatedly in immigration enforcement operations across the country. And I just want to end by saying this. Again, we are reasonable people. We have been to the FIFA task force meetings. We have tried to meet with them. We have tried to meet with officials at the county. This is like what, the fourth press conference that we have on this issue, just asking that FIFA say, hey, we understand that security concerns are a thing. What we don't want is our fans being harassed by immigration enforcement when they're just trying to attend the game. And FIFA does not take this seriously. The county does not take this seriously. FIFA takes this so unseriously that instead of addressing these very valid concerns, they're out there giving makeup, made believe, making up peace prices to the alleged, and I only say alleged out of liability, the alleged pedophile in chief. It's embarrassing. So we just ask that FIFA take this seriously and just speaks up a little bit to protect the fans. And if they don't speak out, we're going to speak out and just raise concerns so that people can assess the risk and make their own decisions.
Aside from taking steps to make sure that these agencies aren't on the property, what other steps do you think that FIFA can do?
I think that would be a start. That would be a start. That would be a great thing.
But you're saying that's a start, but legally, what else can they do? Like, they can't
I think
escort people on and off the property. Once they leave the property,
I think having a conversation with the Trump administration to have assurances that there won't be immigration enforcement happening at these games indiscriminately would be a great starting point. And that's not happening.
can I have your name, please?
Tomás Kennedy. ¿En español? Bueno, lo voy a hacer rapidito. Pero estamos acá haciendo nuestro trabajo como organizaciones que abogan por el derecho del inmigrante y la protección del inmigrante, que es decirle a la comunidad doméstica o extranjera que hay que tener cuidado viajando a los Estados Unidos. Hemos visto casos, por ejemplo, de turistas mexicanos que los pararon la policía y terminaron en Alcatraz de los Caimanes con visa, y estas personas tenían visa de turista. En los juegos de Club World Cup vimos como una familia, un padre fue detenido porque estaba volando un dron en el parqueo, totalmente de forma legal, y terminó en un centro de detención de inmigración. Hemos visto turistas que han sido detenidos en los aeropuertos, cuestionados, les escanean las redes sociales, les hacen abrir los teléfonos para ver si dijeron malas cosas de Trump. Y hemos tratado de hablar con FIFA, hemos ido a las reuniones que tienen acá sobre temas de preocupación. No están tomando este problema en serio, el condado no está tomando el problema en serio, el jefe de la FIFA está inventando premios de paz que se los da al pedófilo en cargo del país. Es realmente una vergüenza lo que está pasando y lo único que estamos pidiendo, algo muy razonable. Sabemos que hay que tener alguna presencia policial en estos partidos, pero tener a ICE, a CBP, a DHS, diciendo, como dijeron en los juegos de Club World Cup, que la gente tiene que traer los papeles, prueba de ciudadanía, es totalmente irrazonable. Y no solo, quiero reiterar esto, no es solo una amenaza para el inmigrante indocumentado, es una amenaza para los derechos civiles de todos los estadounidenses. Nosotros creemos que vivimos en un país libre, que no tenemos que andar caminando con los papeles, mostrándole los papeles a cualquier policía que nos pida verlos. Acá en la Florida, todas las agencias policiales han sido empoderadas para trabajar como agentes de inmigración y pedir los papeles. Busquen lo que son los contratos 287G. Entonces la FIFA tiene una responsabilidad realmente seria en proteger a los fans, no solo de los Estados Unidos, pero también del extranjero. Y si ellos no van a tomar esa responsabilidad, estamos acá para advertirles a las personas de sus riesgos. Gracias.
So let me ask you something.
Yeah, one more because I got to give space to everybody.
Before you step away. So the bottom line is, if people are afraid and they don't show up, that they won't fill seats, and FIFA will actually lose money. Why is FIFA being so lackadaisical, about
I mean,
making this final point?
that's a question for FIFA. That's not a question for me. You should go in. Look, that's FIFA right there. You should go in there and ask them. Um, During the Club World Cup games, that was a dynamic that did happen, right? There were tickets that were not sold, and they had to cut prices 50, sometimes 75%. I mean, they were sold at like bottom prices. I don't know if that's going to happen with the World Cup, but there are games being played in Mexico and Canada. Personally, if I was coming from Latin America, from another country, I would go to either of those countries, not the United States, under this environment, because there's a lot of risk coming here. Sí, nosotros queremos que la FIFA hable con las autoridades, es decir, el gobierno federal, la administración de Trump, para que obtenga garantías serias de que no va a haber enforzamiento de inmigración contra los fans en los juegos y en las proximidades de los partidos.
Thank you, Tomas. And something else to know and to consider is that there are travel bans that are affecting 20% of the world right now, and that FIFA has the responsibility to keep these people safe. And we know that they can do it because they have changed laws literally in Brazil when they held the World Cup there. And during South Africa, they established their own judicial system in many ways. Pero I'm now going to go ahead and ask Ariel from the ACLU to speak.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Good morning. My name is Dariel Gomez. I'm a statewide organizer with the ACLU of Florida. For 70 years, we have safeguarded the constitutional rights of people across the state of Florida. We are here today to support our coalition's travel advisory because in this moment, people in our communities, our neighbors, our colleagues, and our families are facing real unmistakable harm. Our responsibility is not just to defend their rights in court, but to tell the truth about the conditions on the ground when those rights are under threat. That means acknowledging when government actions put fundamental rights at risk and ensuring people have the information they need to make informed decisions while standing in solidarity with those that are most impacted. One of the clearest ways that harm is showing up right now through Florida is the extreme expansion of 287G agreements, which my colleague Tomas alluded to earlier. This is a deal that turns our local police into immigration agents. We're seeing it implemented right here through the Miami-Dade County Sheriff's Office and the City of Miami Police Departments, collaborating with ICE and CBP. And our communities are paying the price. We know what happens when local police are pulled into immigration enforcement. It leads to discrimination, it leads to racial profiling, and it leads to officers making decisions based on how people look, how they speak, and whether or not they have an accent. And we've seen the impact of these agreements before. These 287G programs were eliminated more than a decade ago because they resulted in harassment and mass sweeps of Black and Brown communities. Communities were terrorized and trust was destroyed. And expanding it on this scale in a state that is sustained by immigrant labor threatens stability, due process, and fundamental rights. And this should alarm every single one of us. It's deeply disturbing. While some have willingly joined, most of our law enforcement agencies have been coerced into complying with these agreements, even though our state law, for good reason, does not require it. Because of these programs, a simple traffic stop here in Miami is no longer just a routine interaction. For too many people, every interaction with police now comes with the fear of deportation, separation, or disappearance into a system that is failing to provide transparency and due process. And to be clear, this program's dysfunction does not just stop at undocumented people. We have sued on behalf of US citizens like Peter Brown, who was unlawfully detained in Monroe County back in 2020. We have advocated for the release of Juan Carlos Gomez Lopez, another US citizen who was detained by the Florida Highway Patrol in April of last year. For over 30 hours, he was held unlawfully. We also know that lawful tourists from countries like Germany and Canada have been swept up and detained. Just last November, Florida Highway Patrol violently attacked a 16-year-old minor, a bystander, a child who suffered a concussion and had to be rushed to the hospital. This was our state police. These cases speak for themselves, and they are not isolated. They unveil the predictable result of policies that trade safety for suspicion, dignity for cruelty, and freedom for fear. In Florida, immigration enforcement is operating without meaningful oversight or transparency, while wholly disrupting due process protections. Unaccountable policing and masked enforcement are incompatible with the rule of law and incompatible with travelers' basic expectations for safety. As our advisory makes clear, we are not here to spread fear or panic. We are here to offer a sobering reality check. We are here to warn everyone considering travel to Florida about the very real risks of racial profiling, of discrimination, and of detention at the hands of ICE, CBP, and even our state and our local police here in Miami-Dade County. We also want to be clear about what might happen if you are detained. The lack of oversight and accountability in our detention centers mean that you may be stuck in an indefinite legal limbo. We have documented people being discouraged, delayed, and outright blocked from meeting with their immigration attorneys, which is their right under the United States Constitution. Individuals have been denied timely and meaningful access to legal counsel while in custody at the Everglades Detention Center. This is not just speculation. These violations are occurring as we speak here today, and we are suing the Everglades Detention Center for denying detained people their constitutional right to counsel. Tourism depends on the legal protections that allow our local economies to function. A state that enables racial profiling, secret police tactics, and masked enforcement cannot promise these protections to their visitors. That is why we are urging visitors and tourists be cautious when traveling to Florida and join us in demanding accountability for the resilient communities who endure these discriminatory practices every single day. This is not a call for fear, but for awareness and solidarity, because dignity, due process, and basic freedoms should travel with every single person, no matter where they are. Thank you.
Thank you, Dariel. And now I'll invite Nefer from Semillas de Colombia to speak. Good morning. My name is Nefer Rojas, co-director of Semillas Colombia, a Florida organization that works to protect migrants' rights. As a migrant from Colombia and as someone who cares deeply about the safety and dignity of all migrant people, I stand before you today with a profound sense of concern. The upcoming FIFA tournament, a celebration that should unite us through sport, is becoming a horrible reality in Florida. The travel advisory we are discussing today is not just a warning, it is a cry for help and a crucial map of dangers that directly threaten our community. This advisory is clear. Florida is no longer safe destination for international tourists, especially during these types of events. The reason is not hurricanes or other problems like it. It is a systemic erosion of rights we see every day. Because of agreements known as 287G, local police have been turned into immigration agents, leading to widespread racial profiling. We know personally of people being detained without cause but by officers who do not identify themselves, jailed for long periods of time in inhumane conditions, cut off from lawyers and their consulates, a complete eradication of due process. We are being targeted basically for how we look or our accent. This is why someone that cares for all immigrants, as a Colombian member of this community, we are calling on confronting what this means for us. Our Colombian team is coming to play in Miami. Thousands of our families and friends wearing our yellow blue jersey, speaking our Spanish with our Colombian accent, play to travel to support our team. But under these policies, that joy becomes a danger. Ask yourself, is the excitement of the match worth the unthinkable risk of being pulled aside? Not for anything you did, but because of what you look like. Could cheering for our team in a crowd lead to being detained by a masked officer without explanation? The advisory forces us to consider that these are no exaggerated questions, but practical ones based on documented incidents. That is why we say international visitors must ask themselves if a football match is worth the risk of being kidnapped and jailed. In these conditions in Florida, we should what should be a moment of full of joy for our community has been transformed into a very real danger. For Colombians, with our specific profile, the threat is palpable. Therefore, this advisory's importance cannot be overstated. It is a tool for survival. It urges extreme caution, constant carrying of identification and registration with our consulate. But the ultimate painful recommendation is to consider travel to Florida until accountability is restored. As we dream of watching our teams play, we must also face this horrible truth. The beautiful game is being played in a state where the rules of justice and human dignity are being destroyed. We must share this information, protect our communities, and demand that the world see what is happening. Our passion for football must be equal to our commitment to each other's safety. Thank you. Now I'm going to say it in Spanish. Buenos días, mi nombre es Nefer Rojas, codirectora de Semillas Colombia, una organización en Florida que trabaja en la protección de derechos para los migrantes. Como migrante de Colombia y como persona profundamente comprometida con la seguridad y la dignidad de todas las personas migrantes, me presento hoy ante ustedes con profunda preocupación. El próximo torneo de la FIFA, una celebración que deberíamos unirnos a través del deporte, está dejando una realidad grave. Está dejando clara una realidad grave y preocupante en el estado de la Florida. Esta advertencia de viaje que estamos presentando hoy no es solo una advertencia, es un grito de auxilio, es un mapa crucial de los peligros que amenazan directamente a nuestra comunidad. Esta advertencia es clara. Florida ya no es un destino seguro para los turistas internacionales, especialmente durante este tipo de eventos. La razón no son los huracanes ni otros problemas similares. Se trata de una erosión sistémica de los derechos que presenciamos a diario. Debido a los acuerdos conocidos como 287G, la policía local se ha convertido en agente de migración, lo que ha dado lugar a la discriminación racial generalizada. Conocemos personalmente casos de personas detenidas sin motivo por agentes que no se identifican, encarceladas durante largos periodos en condiciones inhumanas, incomunicadas con sus abogados y consulados, un completo abandono del debido proceso. Básicamente nos están atacando por nuestra apariencia o nuestro acento. Por eso, como una persona que se preocupa por todos los migrantes, como miembro de la comunidad colombiana, hacemos un llamado a afrontar lo que esto significa para nosotros. Nuestra selección nacional jugará en Miami. Miles de familias, amigos y apasionados seguidores de Colombia y el mundo estarán con orgullo vistiendo nuestra camiseta amarilla y hablando con su distintivo acento colombiano. Planean viajar para apoyar a nuestro equipo. Bajo estas políticas, esa alegría se convierte en un factor de riesgo. Pregúntense, ¿vale la emoción de un partido ante el riesgo inesperado de ser detenido? No por algo que hayas hecho, sino por tu apariencia. ¿Acaso animar a nuestro equipo entre la multitud podría resultar en ser detenido sin explicación por un agente enmascarado? Esta advertencia nos obliga a considerar que estas no son preguntas exageradas, sino preguntas prácticas basadas en incidentes documentados. Por eso decimos, los visitantes internacionales y personas que viven acá deben preguntarse si un partido de fútbol vale el riesgo de ser secuestrados y encarcelados. En estas condiciones en Florida, lo que debería ser un momento de alegría para nuestra comunidad se ha transformado en un peligro real. Para los colombianos, con nuestro perfil específico, la amenaza es palpable. Por lo tanto, la importancia de esta advertencia no puede subestimarse. Es una herramienta de supervivencia. Por eso llamamos a la extrema precaución, a llevar siempre consigo la identificación, a registrarse en nuestros consulados. Pero la recomendación final y dolorosa es considerar por completo viajar a Florida hasta que se restablezca la rendición de cuentas. Mientras soñamos con ver jugar a nuestros equipos, también debemos enfrentar esta horrible verdad. Este es prácticamente un estado donde las normas de justicia y dignidad humana están siendo erradicadas. Debemos difundir esta información, proteger nuestra comunidad y exigir que el mundo vea lo que está sucediendo. Nuestra pasión por el fútbol debe ser igual a nuestro compromiso por la seguridad para todos. Gracias.
Gracias, Nefer. And there have been numerous cases that have been documented of tourists who are being held without being able to contact their consulate. And I'm going to invite Isa from Latinas en Marcha to come speak.
Thank you, thank you. Can you all hear me? Okay. Sí, yes, I'll do it in English y después lo voy a hacer en español. Mi nombre es Isabela Oces, soy la directora, primero en inglés, perdónenme. I'm going to do it in English first. My name is Isa Oces. I'm the Latino Constituency Director at Florida Rising and the leader of a collective insider organization called Latinas en Marcha. As the world looks toward FIFA and Florida for the World Cup, we must speak a hard truth to the people in these headquarters and to the international community. Florida is currently unsafe for many of the very fans that you are inviting here. Under the strongman push of Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis, the governor, local law enforcement agencies have been deputized and weaponized. Officers with little to no training are now engaging in egregious racial profiling, targeting people based on our appearance, our accent, and our language. We are seeing fathers separated from their wives and mothers torn from their children in gut-wrenching scenes. Because of this, Florida Rising is joining national organizations to issue a preemptive emergency travel advisory. Let me be super clear when I say that we're not calling for a boycott at this time. We're not attempting to create fear either. We're simply drawing attention to the fear and discrimination that already exists in our state. This anti-immigrant operation does not care about your papers, documents, or nationalities. This year alone, we have seen an Irish father visiting his girlfriend, Canadians on road trips, and German tourists imprisoned for over a month. Nobody in the state is immune. Under expanded 287G agreements, local police are acting as immigration agents, turning routine traffic stops into a mad dash to meet a 3,000 arrest per day quota. To FIFA and to travelers, tourism depends on freedom. But a state that relies on secret police tactics, mass enforcement, and the rejection of valid international IDs cannot offer that freedom. let alone the 75 countries that are not welcomed in the United States at this moment. Many of those countries have millions of soccer fans. Many of them would love to cheer their teams in the US, Canada, Mexico. Let me tell you, and this is a message for fans and the public at large. If you are an international visitor or a person of color or an immigrant, please exercise extreme caution until Florida restores transparency and civil rights. The risk that you face is too big to deny. Y ahora lo voy a hacer en español. Buenos días. Soy Isabela y soy la directora del electorado latino en Florida Rising y también líder de Latinas en Marcha, un colectivo de mujeres latinas dentro de nuestra organización. Mientras el mundo pone sus ojos en el estado de la Florida para la Copa Mundial de Fútbol, debemos decirle una dura verdad a la FIFA y a la comunidad internacional. La Florida en este momento no es un lugar seguro para muchos de los fanáticos que están siendo invitados. Bajo la presión autoritaria del presidente Trump y del gobernador DeSantis, las agencias policiales locales se han convertido en instrumentos de persecución. Oficiales con poco entrenamiento en inmigración ahora practican una discriminación atroz mediante el ataque a las personas por su apariencia, acento o idioma. Somos testigos de padres separados de sus esposas y madres arrancadas de sus hijos en escenas desgarradoras que vemos en las noticias casi todos los días. Por esta razón, Florida Rising se une a organizaciones nacionales para emitir una emergencia preventiva de viaje. Y quiero ser clara, en este momento no estamos llamando a un boicot, no intentamos crear miedo, simplemente estamos señalando el miedo y la discriminación que ya existen en este estado. Esta redada antimigrante no distingue pasaportes o nacionalidades. Este año hemos visto como desde un padre irlandés que visitaba a su novia hasta canadienses y turistas alemanes encarcelados durante más de un mes. Y también hemos visto lo que está pasando todos los días con la comunidad latina en este estado y en el país. Nadie es inmune. Bajo los acuerdos 287G, la policía actual actúa como agente de inmigración, convirtiendo paradas de tráfico en una carrera loca para cumplir con la cuota de 3.000 arrestos por día. A la FIFA y a los viajeros del turismo y a los viajeros, el turismo depende de la libertad, pero un Estado que permite tácticas de policía secreta, agentes enmascarados y el rechazo de identificaciones internacionales válidas no puede ofrecer esa libertad. Esto sin contar con que a la fecha de hoy hay 75 países que no son bienvenidos en los Estados Unidos en este momento. Muchas de esas naciones tienen millones de fanáticos del fútbol y a muchos de ellos les encantaría animar a sus equipos en el Mundial Trinacional con México, Canadá y Estados Unidos. Déjenme decirle esto a los hinchas y al público en general. Si usted es visitante internacional o una persona afrodescendiente, latina o asiática, tenga extrema precaución. Mientras Florida no restaure en su totalidad la transparencia y los derechos civiles, el riesgo es demasiado grande para ignorarlo. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Isa. And you can find the advisory, the website is live at flick.fyi/FIFA advisory. And that's all in cap locks. Again, it's flick.fyi/FIFA advisory. And we've heard it all here today. We want to enjoy the games, we want to go to the games, but we want to do it in a way that's safe, in a way that's not going to end with tourists and visitors being detained and being denied even the right to speak to their consulates. And thank you. We'll open for any questions. It's okay. So the travel advisory, the website is live and it can be found at flick.fyi/FIFA advisory. And that's all in cap locks. Absolutely. On the website, we actually have a section about know your rights and what it is that they can
prepare for. But really, what we want them to know is that even if you come here, the moment that you step on US soil, there are inalienable rights that people have, like the right to remain silent, the right to speak with your consulates, right? So, again, it does not matter if you're a visitor or a tourist, these are the rights that you have. So, you can find it all on the travel advisory page.
Why does it always sound better in Spanish?
You want to know what? I wish I had a better response. I don't know why.
The language of love.
I noticed that you're all say you're not calling for a boycott, but then at this time, is there a reason you might escalate to that level?
I think that if we don't see an adequate response from FIFA, if we're not seeing that they're saying, okay, we will not have immigration enforcement at these games or around these games, then people really should consider a boycott. I know that there have been other organizations that have used that word. I know that, including the ex president of FIFA himself, has called for a boycott. But we want to make sure that people are still able to enjoy the games. And like I mentioned, the games aren't here yet. But FIFA, and so because the games aren't here yet, FIFA has time to make the right decisions, to make the right calls, to put the right amount of pressure. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you so much.